what the Supreme Court has is an opportunity here. An opportunity to make some of the truisms of this nation true. Our values, constitutional protections, and the moral imperative.
Supreme Court justices are weighing whether to side with the Trump administration in its efforts to shut down President Obama's DACA program, which protects 700,000 undocumented immigrants who are known as Dreamers. During arguments Tuesday, the conservative majority indicated that the administration had solid ground in saying the program was illegal.
So at the same time, the President Trump tweeted about the case, saying that not all DACA recipients are angels. Quote, if the Supreme Court remedies with overturn, a deal will be made for them to stay. Joining us to weigh in on yesterday's hearing and the president's comments is DACA recipient Michelle Segura and Angelica Salas, executive director of the Coalition for Human Immigrant Rights. Welcome to you both.
Glad to have you both. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so
absolutely.
much for having
So
us.
tell us a little bit about, you were in the room yesterday at the Supreme Court. Tell us a little bit about what that experience was like for you.
You know, it was really overwhelming. I, along with another group of about 25 or 30 recipients, were standing in line. We camped out since Sunday morning, and so we had been there, you know, waiting for the opportunity to go inside. For the 2.5 days, we weren't sure if we were going to make it in or not, and so we stood there through rain and cold. And you know, we're from California, so we're not used to this weather.
It's really cold. Yeah.
So, you know, we layered up, we had a bunch of blankets, and it was a wonderful experience. But just coming in there, we didn't know what to expect. Just going into the Supreme Court was so surreal. You know, we were tired and we wanted to stay awake and alert, and just hearing the arguments going back and forth, it was so overwhelming. Just knowing that 9 folks are going to decide the fate of so many individuals is just surreal to me, you know. But I love that the judges were asking so many questions, and it just didn't seem like it was enough time to hear all the arguments on both sides.
Yeah.
I really wanted to hear a little bit more.
Well, tell us a little bit about you, your story, what this program means to you.
Sure. I'm a student at Cal State LA. I'm currently working on a master's in business administration, and I work for a community college. In California, we have Dream Resource Centers in colleges and universities where we're able to help students navigate through college. So anything from registering to figuring out what you want to study. And so I have the privilege of working in one of these colleges, Los Angeles Trade Tech, where I'm able to help students, especially undocumented students, navigate through that and learn about the resources. And I also have siblings who are under the DACA program. And so I've built a career where if this program were to go away, you know, a lot of what I've built could go away. And that's very scary for me. I remember September 5th, when the program was rescinded, was the same day that my college decided to open the Dream Resource Center. And so minutes before I'm going to give the opening remarks, I see the news that the program was rescinded. And since I'm a program recipient myself, I bawled a little bit, you know, just crying and wanting to hold it together, because I'm going to face my students, and just having to be strong for other folks is what really kept me going. And that's my drive, and that's why I'm here today, and the fight continues.
Yeah.
So, Angelica, I mean, do you have any qualms, I think, with the way that the program, since you've been involved in this now for 25 years, I mean, part of the peril of creating this through an executive order by the Obama administration is that it left it vulnerable to future presidential action. I mean, ultimately now, do you think that it was a disservice in a way in order to start the program the way that it was started, and has left it now extraordinarily legally vulnerable?
My perspective is that the program was actually legal, that a president has executive action, especially on issues of immigration. And if you look actually at history, you will see many presidents, Republican and Democrat, taking executive action on immigration matters. We have worked so hard to get a permanent solution for immigrant youth and for their parents through immigration reform. And what I have seen is absolutely lack of a political will, especially on the Republican side, and especially certainly from this president, to actually come up with a solution. With President Obama, what he did was he actually used his executive action to do what he called what is in the law, which is deferred action on enforcement. And that means that these students are protected, these individuals are protected from deportation while they come forward and they receive that protection, the government says, we know you're in the country, we'll also provide you a work permit. And they have to renew every 2 years. They have to provide information about where they live. They have to provide background checks, their fingerprints. And they could do so willingly because this is really their only home. This is this is their country.
So, but to this point, I mean, if it was legal to institute, it's also legal to rescind, and that is part of the thing. So the Supreme Court right now is about the legality of the program itself. Regardless of their decision, the administration can simply issue a policy guidance after that is done and rescind the program entirely. So I'm saying, from that perspective, was it a disservice to institute this through executive action? Because ultimately, people like yourself are stuck in an extraordinarily legal limbo.
And my answer to you is it was an absolute service for these young people, but it was also a service to the nation. You have individuals like Michelle who are actually contributing to their community. I know individuals who are nurses, so many DACA teachers, engineers, biomedical technicians. There is so many wonderful contributions that have been made possible because individuals got a chance, and those contributions need to continue. Now, this president, if he decides to end it, he also has to follow rules, and so he cannot just from one day to the next decide that the program is going to end and leave all of these individuals in limbo. And so we are also arguing that he also has to follow certain procedures. He cannot just from one day to the next take away the program, and he actually has to also follow the law. So it was ended from our perspective in an illegal way. But the other thing is that we've been fighting for a permanent solution. So the House of Representatives passed H.R. 6, which was the Dream and Promise Act. It now needs to go to the Senate, and the permanent solution for these individuals could come forward immediately if the Senate decided to take on this proposal. However, they refused to do it. Our perspective is that if you really want a solution, as you've stated, a permanent solution, then you negotiate in good faith. You do not put their lives in the middle of a battle for a border wall or for more enforcement or to end illegal migration. You actually take this issue on its merits and on its merits alone, and you provide them a permanent solution.
Michelle, let me ask you this. I wasn't in the room yesterday, but I read some of the news coverage, and most of the analysts seem to think that the arguments were kind of breaking down along partisan lines, which of course is not a good sign for the DACA program. But you were actually in the room. Did you leave feeling hopeful? And if so, what kind of gave you hope in what you heard?
You know, Judge Sonia Sotomayor said something that really stuck with me and my group. She said, this is not a matter whether the program is legal or not. This is about destroying lives. And, you know, in that moment, I wanted to get up and say, this is my life that you're talking about. And I know that, you know, my other group members felt the same way. And that's what it is. You know, we've built so much. I'm here. This is my home. I contribute every day. I wake up every day, and I help so many individuals. I help citizens and residents, and I don't feel any different, you know, just a piece of paper. And for a long time, the DACA program made me feel a little normal, you know, and for the past couple of years, I've just been not unsure, very confused as to what's going to happen, how should I prepare. You know, it's very scary to even start a family because I don't know what's going to happen. And so in that regard, you know, I've had to change my life a lot and just focus on my career and sacrifice a lot, just so I can continue helping my community and paying it forward.
So last question for you, Michelle. The president, he said in that tweet, and continually the administration says that a deal will be reached if the program is ended. By all accounts, that seems to be where it's headed. Does that give you any hope that the administration's official policy position is that DACA will be kept in some form at the end result of some congressional negotiation?
You know, in good faith, I gave a lot of my information along with my siblings to this government. And so I hope that there is something positive that comes out of this. I hope that he takes that tweet where he said that we're not angels and that we're criminals, because we're not. You know, we have to go through very, very hard measurements to just be part of the program. And to continue to renew, we have to go through biometrics, background checks, and it's a very expensive process. And I know there's recommendations to increase the legal fees, and it's just hard enough. You know, paying for school, paying for living costs, and having to increase that. You know, we renew the program every 2 years. It's a lot of money, and you know, we're making great contributions, and so I hope this program can continue, but I also hope that there's more of a permanent solution, because this is just a band-aid to everything that we're fighting for. And there's so many individuals that are contributing. The incoming high school students don't have any protection, but they have so much potential. A lot of them came to the U.S. when they were just 1 year old, and they don't know anything about any other country. You know, so I see my students every single day. You know, they're sending me messages and appreciating that I'm here, because they have commitments back at home. And with that, you know, that helped me get through those 2 really, really cold nights, just waiting to know if I even had the opportunity to go into the Supreme Court.
Well, thank you both so much for joining us.
Thank you
Really
so much.
appreciate
Thanks for
it.
being here.
Thank you.
Coming up, wonder how the voters of Iowa are feeling about the 2020 race.
We've got the latest polls along with new National Democratic Field Survey. Team Rising is going to weigh in on the results next.